Let's talk about High Priest and High Priestess with Infernals. So I received this lovely comment. So basically them asking, how could you be a high priest without being appointed by a congregation, etc. 10 points to Gryffindor for misgendering. But anyway, there are some points to be spoken about here, so let's talk about it. First and foremost, this person is correct. You don't just get initiated by an elder. You can claim to be a priest or a priestess, right? Very few are going to know the difference. And I'm sure you've seen people who do this. But there are a few things to consider. One, Infernals don't work on the concept of a congregation. This concept can be synonymous with Christianity, even though it's not really rooted in it. Yeah, you can form covens and stuff, but realistically, Infernals work on a singular basis with their practitioners. Like, not a church setting. Second, becoming a priest or priestess is different for everybody, right? So, for example, me for Asmodeus, I teach. I have other responsibilities, but that's my main one. Somebody else who might be in that role with him may be geared towards like sex work or baneful magic, so on and so forth. It's different for everyone. And it's different for everyone because this role is given to you directly from the Infernal, right? The perspective of other practitioners and what they deem to be correct for this role is completely irrelevant. It's not up for humans to decide. This is solely between you and the Infernal, right? Which, in my experience, you have to put in time to get this role assigned to you. There's a lot of responsibility to it. They have to see that you're ready for this, that you're serious, you're willing to put in the work, right? Like a promotion, if that's what you want to think of it as. You don't really get it like willy-nilly, and if you do, question it because it may be a test. And again, there's always exceptions to this. I am simply talking from my experience. To the next point, this person's right. Anyone can lie. Anyone can lie and say that they're a high priest or priestess, but consider a few things. One, if you lie on that Infernal, you're gonna get set on fire. You're gonna get your shit rocked, okay? It's blatant disrespect and just an all-around terrible idea. Two, people are gonna know. They're gonna know, okay? If you really do have this role and you have that respect for that Infernal, you don't brag on it, you don't make it an ego point. It's a fucking job. Anybody who does brag on it or make it an ego point is fake and undeserving of the role, and that's just facts. I guess in that way you can kind of think of it as like an Infernals are their own kind of like self-guided check and balance. Like, yeah, you can lie or say whatever you like, but the ones who value their practice won't, and the ones that do are gonna get set on fire. As a matter of fact, that's one of the few things about this practice that is like cut and dry, black and white. At the end of the day, working with Infernals is not linear. It doesn't stick to any kind of rule book or any kind of organization because it's not organized religion. It's the opposite of that, right? Is there a better word than high priest or priestess for this role? Probably. You know, this is the term we've come to know. Just like God spouse, right? Not really a great term for the role. There are better ways, but this is the term that we know, so it's the one that we use. But the judgment or questioning of other people on the internet, if you post your practice online, if you talk about being a high priest or a high priestess, is going to happen. And that's fine. That's part of the gig. Welcome to the internet. But at the end of the day, you have to worry about you and your practice, and they have to worry about theirs. The only time that this toes out of line is if you're giving like misinformation, if you're, being shitty to other people, if you're saying that your way is the only way. That's when it becomes a problem. And not only are other people going to yell at you, but the Infernals are going to check your shit. Like, it really is that straightforward. If you're trying to gain clout or recognition or something in their name, using their name, it's not going to go well. It's just not. Finally, last two things before I close the video. One, I personally don't agree with confirming high priest or priestess for other people. Like, sometimes it might come up in readings, but I don't necessarily go out of my way to confirm stuff like that for other people because it's specifically between them and that Infernal. I don't want to step in the way. I don't want to like toe on any sort of lesson that's supposed to be taught. So like, I'm not gonna. That's just me. But more important than any of this, there are a lot of infernal practitioners who don't believe in this role at all, that don't believe that high priest or high priestess or that god spousing is a real or valid thing, and that is okay. They're allowed to do that. They're allowed to believe that just, it's just between the practitioner and the infernal. That is fine. There aren't rules, and nobody is 100% correct. How could we be? How could we possibly know all the answers, right? I'm talking about what I practice and what a lot of people practice, and other people don't practice it that way. It only becomes a problem when you start making other people feel shitty for their practice, right? As long as you're minding your own goddamn business and you're not hurting anybody or like throwing out blatant, terrible, like dangerous misinformation, it is what it is. So if somebody disagrees with you, that's okay. There really is not a reason to fight about it. You just exist, you practice your shit, you do what you need to do, work with your infernal, drink some water, eat a moon pie, and chill the fuck out. The end.